Alright, so here we are. Final 6 videos, a longer one. Now again, this is going to be something that kind of culminates everything that we did together. So the last 5 videos, 6.5% rule, GDS, TDS, income, debts, as well as my own opinion on how to play with your down payment a little bit. So we're going to show you an example on my system so you can see how the GDS, TDS move. That's the big deal. And then how playing with income and stuff can also help, but more the debts and how that can help. And then from there, hopefully you have a good understanding. It's not going to be exactly what your situation is, but at least you have an understanding as to how it works. So then from there, we can, if you need my help, go through your situation. Then we can apply this same process to your situation and see how we can get you where you want to go. So over to my screen, let's check it out. So if you're following me here, what you can see is that we've got a deal up here. I changed all the information because this was someone's actual deal. Playing with the GDS, TDS, and whatnot. So what you can see here, here's a GDS, which is at 34. Remember, we want to have the GDS, TDS sitting between 32 and then probably 40 to 42. And if your credit is high enough, we can go as high as 39 on the GDS, or we can go to the TDS as high as 44. So I think we played with the purchase price here because I know in our example we're using the down payment the purchase price was 300 grand. So that's what we're going to go back to here. But this is what we look at all the time and how it's set up. So in this case, this is what we're looking at, and GDS, TDS, and we'll just jump right into it really. So here's all personal information, yada yada. You would fill that out, I would fill that out. Get down to income, which we talked about. In this case, we're using a salaried employee. Again, same example we've been using. Salaried employee, $79,000. Nothing really to worry about there. If you want to hear more about income, go back to that video number 3, I think it was, and we'll talk about how different incomes are calculated and whatnot. Salary, hourly, that kind of thing. So 79 grand is there. The debts, big deal, obviously, because that's where we spend a lot of our time. So in this case, we pulled all this stuff right from the credit bureau. The person had a $5,500 credit card. That was the limit. Obviously, the balance was this. They told me they could pay it off, so we just click this little button here, which means this doesn't exist anymore. It's just gone. We put in that unsecured line of credit just to make a point about how the payments work. Again, if you look, this guy's carrying a $10,000 balance. 3% of the balance, which is what we talked about in the liabilities video, is the payment we have to put in. That $300 is not what he has to pay, but on paper we have to put that in there. So that's $300. Personal loan, again, this is that car loan, $491. Again, part of our example. So that's where that is at. That will not change. That's standard. That's just going to be there, and it's not going to be able to go away until it's gone. So currently in this situation, let's go look at what mortgage we're looking at. So we get over to that page. So we were playing with this a little bit because we scooted this up to $350,000, which isn't really what we want. We go back to our regular example. Our example we were using through the video was $300,000 with a down payment 5% of $15,000. So let's put that back in. Now watch what happens when I put that back in, because right now that deal doesn't qualify. Let me just get this up there. It should switch. And watch up here at the top. There we go. So 30 and 42. So at a $300,000 purchase, if we walk through this, $300,000. I'm estimating taxes at $3,000. I'm assuming heat's going to be fine at $100. We can play with that a little bit, but $100 is always a good number to work with. $300 with the $15,000 down leaves him with a mortgage of $285. But again, because it's 5% down, we have to add in this down here, which is the mortgage insurance premium, $10,260. And again, you can see that's 3.6% of whatever you're paying. So obviously, the more you put down, the less that becomes, but it doesn't really change too much until you hit 10%. So using over here the interest rate at 2.69%, that's pretty well a going rate right now. It's a fixed rate. It's closed, which just means that you can't get out of this deal for whatever the term is without paying some type of penalty, and that's across the board. Banks, monolines, doesn't matter. Always going to be something to pay if you have to break the mortgage. Put it as monthly payment frequency just to keep it easy. I'm particular to accelerated biweekly myself, but I'll touch on that on a different day as to why. It's compounded semi-annually, so just twice a year. 5-year term, 25-year AM, because we can't go any longer than that. So as we can see, that is the basis of what we've set up on. This is what the monthly payment would be over here, $1,350.77. Now again, this GDS TDS, that has got everything in it. That's based on the $79,000 income, the principal, interest, property taxes, and the heat. And the TDS, we've added in those extra debt payments, the $491 for the car, the $300 a month for the line of credit, and we got rid of that one credit card because he told me he could pay it off. Now those are all relative to this number down here, the qualifying details. So this is that stress test that everyone's been talking about post October 16th, 2016. So after that, every deal we have to do is qualified on the benchmark rate of 4.64%. So what that means is this deal still works at 4.64%. So if the interest rate today was 4.64, I could still get this gentleman qualified for this deal. Now, to give you an idea of how much this impacts a deal, pre-October 16th, we could have used the going contract rate of 2.69 to qualify this deal. And let's see what that would do to the GDS TDS at that time. So you can see that at that time, what would have happened is the GDS would have dropped significantly. The GDS would have dropped significantly. The TDS would have dropped significantly, and this guy is sitting in a much better position. He wasn't in a bad position a minute ago, but now he's in an even better position. Now, one thing you can see too is how much that has impacted the deal, because if we scoot this up, let's say we want to go to 350,000. 17,500, that's 5% of 350. Redo some math here. Let's see what his GDS TDS would have been. Now again, this is just to prove a point about how much that stress test has impacted somebody's ability to buy. Because pre-October 16th, we can still see that this deal would work. Our GDS is under 32, and even far under 39. Our TDS is under 44, even under 42. This deal would have worked. This guy would have qualified for this deal. Now, let's see if this guy can qualify for a deal today at $350,000 under his current situation. And all we have to do is change these qualifying details down here, 4.64%, and hit recalculate, and we'll see what happens up here. I think it's going to be tight. And there it is. So, the GDS is good, but the TDS is too much. So when we look at that TDS, this is where I start saying that word again of manipulate. Let's see what we have to manipulate to make this deal work. So he's salaried. We can't get any more income out of that. That's just not going to happen, right? Our property taxes are fixed. Our mortgage payment's fixed. We could put more down payment. Let's see two things we could do. We can get rid of debt, or we can put down more down payment. Let's see how much down payment we have to put down. Let's see if we can just jump random number. Let's go 25 grand. See if that makes enough of a difference. Let's recalculate this. We put 25 grand down. All the numbers are going to change. Let's see if it changes in his favor. Not enough, right? So we put down 17. We had 17.5 down. We added enough money to get to 25 grand down, right? And we're still sitting at a 46% TDS. Still too high. We have to get that underneath 44. Let's jump let's go to 30. So let's add another 5 grand to this deal. So another 5 grand. So you can see here that it still isn't enough. We've added, what did we add the first time? We went 25 grand. Let's just make sure I'm right here. So we did 25,000 minus 17,500. So we added 7,500 bucks. Plus we've added $11,000, over $11,000 to his down payment. $11,000 to his down payment to get us a better position, and we're still not done because we still haven't got this under 44. So let's just jump this and go right to 10%, 35,000 bucks, and let's see what that does for us. So 10%, we're gonna have a lower insurance premium. Maybe that's enough. And even at 10%, it's still not enough. If you look up here, our GDS has now dropped to 44.8. So we've asked this guy to get another 10%, right? Another 5%, another $17,500 to buy this house, and he still can't buy this house. So what do? Well, let's put our stuff back to what we had originally. put our stuff back to what we had originally. Let's go back. So that'll change, and let's go over to liabilities instead. So now what you have to do, so look up there. So it's 34 and 46. So remember what we had to do to even get remotely close to having this guy qualify. We had to go and get 10%, and we're actually going to need more than 10% of a down payment. But what if we just found a way to maybe say, get this guy $5,000, right? And before closing, he can pay that line of credit off down to $5,000. So let's make sure the balance is going to be at $5,000. That changes our payment to $150, and let's see what happens to that GDS and TDS. So now you can see that how close we got. We took that, we added $5,000 to that deal. Oh, sorry, we added $5,000 to that line of credit, brought the balance down, got our payment down to $150, and there we sit with our GDS ratio, our TDS ratio at 44.42. So we are way, way closer to getting this deal done just by not putting down another $17,500 to get our 10% down payment, by putting down strictly just $5,000 on a debt. And this is what I was saying. This is how impactful debts can be to a deal, and payments can be to a deal. And that's what sometimes we have to focus on, because it can be easier and less expensive, money out of pocket wise, to get a debt paid off than it is to actually find enough down payment to make enough of a move to make sure you can qualify for the house that you want to buy for. Now again, a lot of this has to be taken into context. It makes sense to put more money down on your mortgage, but money is typically finite. There's only a limited amount. So it might be better to focus on having to attack a debt and get rid of that, because the impact is so much greater, than trying to find a significant more amount of down payment to add to it to try to get yourself in line. Not to mention buying a house, and if you have much less debt, life's probably going to be easier in the end anyway. Now, we still haven't qualified for this house. So what we're going to do, let's see what kind of impact income has. Right, and I'll set up a scenario for you here. So let's say that in this case, right, this guy wants to buy the house on his own. Right, he's got a girlfriend. But he wants to do it on his own, which is fine. It happens all the time. She's a waitress. Just because she's a student, she's a waitress. I see this all the time. She only makes a little bit of money on paper, 10, 12 grand kind of a thing, but makes a lot in tips. Tips are hard to calculate. Tips are hard to track. So in this case, we're just going to say we use her income that she gets from her T4, which is going to be, let's call it 10 grand, right? 10 grand a year, not a huge amount of money, but definitely something that's possible, and definitely something that can help this situation. And this might be something that he wants to do. So instead of him just running this house on his salary alone, she's going to move in anyway. She's going to help with expenses. So maybe we can use her income in that case, because she's going to be so involved anyway if they want to have that conversation. So let's say we're going to use this guy's girlfriend's income, other restaurant income. Oop. And that's on an annual basis. Let's say it's just another 10 grand. Hit save. So remember what we're doing here. We've got a $350,000 house. We've got all the debts in play, but we're just looking at how much more impact income makes. And just like that, boom, $10,000. So again, why would we do this, Kyle? Like, you're confusing me. I know this is a little bit confusing, but I'm trying to stress the point that income and debts can have a much easier, beneficial impact on your deal than trying to just find more down payment. Because again, to get this guy even close to being able to buy this house, we had to jump our down payment to over 10%, which means we're going past $35,000. He's only got $17,500, and now we're pushing past $35,000 to make it work. Instead, what we could have done is just focused on finding an extra almost 10 grand, 7 to 10 grand to pay off a debt and get the ratios in line. Or maybe we look at adding a little bit more income to the deal by adding someone like a partner, a spouse, maybe a co-signer with only a little bit of money. Like in this case, 10 grand. So from there, that's where I say we want to spend time on this stuff and work through your situation so we can figure out exactly what the best course of action is and where you should focus your time. maybe you are a year or two out, and maybe that 10 grand, maybe you get a second job. Maybe that works for you for a little bit to get a second job, put some money in the bank, and then we can claim that income after a certain amount of time. Maybe you know that you got an inheritance coming, and you're going to just get 10 grand. Well, don't put the 10 grand on the down payment in this case isn't going to work, but 10 grand to pay off the line of credit will. So put it there instead. This is where manipulating the information, and again, legally manipulating the information, makes more sense than just trying to throw money at the problem and throw money on the down payment. Yes, more down payment is good. You pay less mortgage insurance, your payment will be lower. But to get the house, it may make more sense to go at it looking a different way. So that's really what we're looking at. I wanted to make sure we went through that. I think from this point we've covered off everything that I want to cover. Again, everybody's situation is different, so this isn't going to be exactly your numbers, but this is the work we do on the front end to make sure on the back end you have a nice, smooth, easy deal to deal with when you finally find the house that you want to buy. So I think I've covered off everything I want to cover. This might have been a little bit choppy, but we can always play with it. We can always get your situation set up so it's yours and accurate, and play with the numbers that we can there to make sure you get it. But if you have any questions, please drop me a line. You can always catch me on all my social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, LinkedIn, regular email, phone number. Also, go back and check out these other videos, the 6 videos. There's some good information there. It's probably a little bit tighter and a little bit cleaner because it's just condensed and only on one subject, whereas we try to cover everything here. But I hope this was helpful. I hope it makes sense to you to see how this all kind of works together and why they're so important to do things and look at all aspects. And hopefully we'll be able to work with you soon and help you out and find you the best mortgage, the best deal to get you off to where you want to be. Thanks very much.